Is Hey there, guys. This is Mr. D. I have to tell you, trying to get these pictures to line up is like really an art in itself with no AI. Too old for AI. AI takes away our independent thinking and decides what it wants us to say. Well, this chapter 31, I believe it is, or is it 32? I think it's 32, by the way. We did 31, and I don't know where I was at, but I was there. But this is chapter 32, and this has to talk about something that happened. Something bad. You remember that Moses was up on Mount Sinai getting some rules and laws and some rules and laws for the Israelites. And I think he's coming back soon. I know that God told him about, who was it? Bezalel and Oholib, to make sure that they were ready, because he's going to need them. He's going to need them. I think what he uses them for, something very important. Carving all that stuff out that he talked about, that we covered, and that we are going to re-comment about before we finish this book of Exodus and go into the next book, which we already know what that one is. Do you guys? I do. I'm pretty sure it's Leviticus. We're almost there. So let's get to this chapter. This is chapter 32. And I'd like to have prayer first. Dear Lord, please be with us as we continue on through your book, the Holy Bible, learning about you, about how you treated your young children when they didn't want to listen. And when they did listen, you did all the things you did, from kind of like us, kind of like the way we are with our children. I don't know, God. I pray that you'll be with us and help us to grow closer and closer to you, find the answers we need to be ready for that day when you come back. In Jesus' name, amen. So if you haven't marked my notification yet, please do so. And this picture is more of an animated drawing of a calf. Looks like a golden calf. And they're all saluting it. Now, I know that God's not going to be happy with this one. Remember? No idols. He doesn't like idols. And here, this big old giant golden calf. So what does this chapter say about this golden calf? So let's go to chapter 32. And chapter 32 starts off as, when the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, "Come, make us a god who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses, who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what happened to him." Now remember, Aaron is Moses' brother. I'd have slapped those suckers around. But I guess they did things different in those days. Well, it continues. Aaron answered them and said, "Take off gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing, and bring them to me." So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed to him and made it into an idol cast into the shape of a calf, fashioning it with tools. Then they said, "These are our gods, or your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." So this is their God, not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the Israelites' God, a God that they could see and touch. So, "I have seen these people," the Lord said to Moses, "and they are stiff-necked people. Now leave me alone so that my anger may burn against them and that I may destroy them. Then I will make you a great nation." Well, I think we missed something here. Let's go up. Let's go to verse 5 and read verse 5 again if we haven't. When Aaron saw this, he built that altar in front of the calf and announced, tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord. So the next day the people rose early and sacrificed burnt offerings and presented fellowship offerings. Afterward, they sat down to eat and drank and got up to indulge in revelry. 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 Then the Lord said to Moses, God can see this going on down here. I mean, that cloud is up there on the top. He has a good view. And he's watching all this. Moses can't see it. He's inside. He's in that big cloud on top of the mountain. So he says, verse 9, I have seen these people, the Lord said to Moses, and they are a stiff-necked people. I like that expression. Now leave me alone so that my anger may burn against them and that I may destroy them. Then I will make you, Moses makes you into a great nation. I imagine God was quite mad at this calf, furious at even the thought of what he does for them. And they built this calf. I don't know what to say. I don't think we're much different today with what we do, the way the countries treat each other, and the way they don't follow God. They have all their own gods and their statues and their stories about this and that. But remember, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Well, the next verse, let me see if I can read, excuse my glasses, is but Moses sought the favor of the Lord, his God. Lord, he said, why should your anger burn against your people, whom you brought out of Egypt with a great power and mighty of hand? Why should the Egyptians say, it was with evil intent that he brought them out, to kill them in the mountain and to wipe them off the face of the earth? I'd say just God wants Moses saying that that's what he's doing. I don't think he's doing it personally myself, but I'm not Moses. And he says, turn from your fierce anger, relent and do not bring disaster on your people. Remember your servant Abraham, Isaac, Israel, to whom you swore by your own self, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give your descendants all the land I promised them. I will be their inheritance forever. Then the Lord relents and did not bring on the people on the disaster he had threatened. Then the Lord relented and did not bring on his people the disaster he had threatened. I repeated that. Moses turned and went down the mountain with 2 tablets in his hands, the covenant laws in his hands. The 2 tablets, it looks like, of the covenant laws in his hand. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. Don't forget that. I didn't know that. I always thought it was the front, but I guess that actually makes 4 pages. I don't know how small the writing was, but it, you know. But the tablets were the work of God. That would be unique to have actually something from God. The writing was written, the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablet. So God did it. Moses didn't do the engraving. God did. God wrote them on that tablet. God told Moses what he wanted. When Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, there's a sound of war in the camp. War? I mentioned war. Well, verse 18, Moses replied, it is not the sound of victory. It is not the sound of defeat. It is the sound of singing. that one I hear. So what are they saying about? The glory of God? Is that what they're singing about? They're waiting patiently for God? Is that what those people are doing? When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf of the people had made and burned it in the fire. Then he ground its powder, scattered on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. I never knew that. So this calf in verse 19 was grounded into the water like a powder, and the Israelites had to drink. Now, who was forcing those Israelites to drink it? I don't know. I don't know how the power of God. We can just say power of God was there. The cloud of fire, the manna, all the stuff that God was doing, the angel leading them through the wilderness. Maybe you couldn't see the angels, but the power of God was there, and it was on their favor until they started building something like a calf. Come on. I don't know where the brains were, but that's for sure. This one, they were missing something. So we continue. And it says in verse 21, he said to Aaron, what did these people do to you that you led them into such a great sin? And he said, do not be angry, my Lord. Aaron answered, you know how prone these people are to evil. They said to me, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses, who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. So I told them, whoever has gold jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. I think there was a little bit more than that. I don't think a calf just popped. If it does, I think you'd be trembling on your feet, because it doesn't do it by itself. Only the power of something way more than us could do it without touching it. Satan, maybe. But I don't think that's exactly what happened. I think Aaron was a little more involved. Doesn't say that yet. But let's see here. Let's see what else he says about Aaron. Moses saw the people were running wild, and that Aaron had let them get out of control, and so becomes the laughing stocks to their enemies. So he stood at the entrance of the camp and said, whoever is for the Lord, come to me. And all the Levites rallied to him. They wanted to stay on the good side of Moses. Then he said to them, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Each man strap his sword to his side, go back. Where was it? Go back and forth through the camp from one end to the other, each killing his brother and friends and neighbor. The Levites did as Moses commanded, and a day about 3,000 people died. Then Moses said, you have been set apart to the Lord today, for you were against your own sons and your brothers, and he has blessed you this day. The next day Moses said to his people, you have committed a great sin, but now I will go up into the Lord. Perhaps I can make an atonement for your sin. Because see, the tablets are, he destroyed the tablets. Where was it? Somewhere here. Moses favored Lord. He burned anger. He turned down the mountain with 2 tablets of covenant, and they were inscribed and heard the voices all the way up here and then heard the dancing. There it is on verse 19. Breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. When Moses approached the camp, saw the calf and the dancing, and the anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands. And he grumbled about how God was going to remove the Israelites. Then Moses goes down and does the same thing. He throws the precious tablets of God and destroys them. I would consider that not good. But see, I don't know for sure why God accepted that, and why things we do now, he doesn't give us that favor. There's reasons for everything that happens. The problem is we don't usually find out until it's done. I'm sure that it was a good way that the Israelites didn't get removed from the world, because I believe God would have done something again like he did at Sodom and Gomorrah. People were out of control, kind of like the world today, out of control. All the kind of racial and kind of things going on and sex stuff going on is like it was in the day of Noah, the day of Sodom, the day out there on the desert without God, the golden calf from Satan. That's what it is. So, and we're going to close this up. It says here, and on verse 30, the next day Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin, but now I will go to the Lord, and perhaps I can make atonements for your sin. So Moses went back to the Lord and said, oh, what a great sin these people have committed. They have made themselves gods of gold. Like God didn't know. I'm sure he knew that. But now, please forgive their sins. But if not, then blot me out of the book you have written. The Lord replied to Moses, whoever sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I spoke of, and my anger will go before you. My angel will go before you. However, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. And the Lord struck the people with a plague because of what they did with the calf Aaron had made, and go up to the land promised and the people you brought up out of Egypt, and go up to the land I promised on the oath of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I will send an angel before you and drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and Jebusites. I think that's the first verse of the next chapter, 33. He was upset. Makes you wonder why we're still here with all of the sin that we do. And God's really, really, as I can see and I read, is really easy to follow if you commit yourself. The problem is, like in Aaron, he should have said no. And he was scared probably that they killed him. But you know what? And later on in the Bible, we approach people, Israelites, Jews, promised people that were threatened with a lot more than people being angry because they're out in the middle of a desert. One going into a furnace fire or getting eaten by a lion. And you know what they did? They stood up to God. They stood up for God. And they showed the power of God. Aaron's brother Moses was like in Flint. I mean, like in there with God. I mean, I wouldn't have worried. I'd have done what God wanted me to do. And that would not have been make an idol for all of these thousands of Israelites. Well, let's see if NIV gives any little goodie. Sometimes they give a little goodie. Oh, it does. From verse 1 through 10. on chapter 32, of course, which we're in. And idols is not just a golden calf. It is anything you love or desire more than God. If the things you run to for security, comfort, peace, and hope is not God, then you have an idol and you need to turn back to God. That closes out chapter 32, my brothers and sisters. I call you brothers and sisters because we're all brothers and sisters in Jesus. I plan on seeing you on the next chapter. I think that's chapter 33 coming up. And according to my book, 33 has to do with the tent of meetings and various other things. But we're looking at going through all the stuff in this tabernacle soon. So I hope to see you there. That's the end of 32. See you at 33. God bless you. Mr. D.